Hello guys, XIV here and welcome to my guide for Deltascape V4.0 Savage. Instead of a phase, this fight has two different battles. As soon as you finish the first one, you will be able to start from the second one even if you die. Remember that it only happens during the 2 hours time that you have to complete the raid. After you leave the raid and come back, you will need to start the first battle again. Alright, let's start. In this fight, XIV has the same abilities as the normal mode, what are two types of fire, blizzard and thunder tree, but you can most likely ignore this fact, since it will not be as random as the normal mode. This fight with XIV has 3 small phases and your goal is to reach 59% of HP before XIV casts his last Meteor. If you fail, then it will be a wipe. In the first phase, XIV always uses the same skills, they never change and they are not random. So let's start from the beginning. The first skills that XIV uses are Dual Cast followed by the normal Blizzard tree. As the name says, Dual Cast will make so that XIV can cast the same skill twice, stack your group and avoid the Blizzard tree damage area accordingly. Next, XIV gonna use Dual Cast plus Thunder tree. There are 2 ways to deal with this attack. One is to have the off-tank provoke XIV during the cast of the Thunder tree, so that the first hit is taken by the main tank, and the second hit is taken by the off-tank. The second way is to have the main tank pop Living Dead, Hallowed Ground, or Home Gang, and take both hits. Unless you have a warrior in your group, I recommend you to provoke and have both tanks take each 1 hit, so that they can keep their cooldowns for the further mechanics. Now, XIV gonna use Dual Cast again, followed by the normal Fire tree. Fire tree will first hit all DPS players and a few seconds later it will hit both tanks and healers. Remember that the players hit by the Fire tree will also hit everyone close to them, so make sure to give some space for the players that are going to be hit by it. Next attack gonna be White Hole. This skill causes damage equals to the double of the amount of HP that the player needs to be full HP. Also, any player who is not at full HP before the cast finishes will be petrified for 10 seconds. This is basically a healing check. Now, XIV gonna use the Decisive Battle. It will summon 8 tentacles in clockwise or anti-clockwise manner. The trick here is to go where the last tentacle appear, wait for the AoE damage push your group back, and move straight away to the direction that the first tentacle moved. Right after, a zombie head will appear. This head works as the same way as the normal mode. It will zombify any player in front of it. After your group starts moving away from the zombie head, 1 DPS, 1 healer and 1 tank will be marked for flare. It works the same way as the normal mode as well. Place the flare as far away as possible from each other. Now, XIV gonna appear next to a random player. Because of the further mechanics, make sure that all players of the group are on the edge of the arena. If XIV appears anywhere that is not on the edge, it will be a wipe. After he appears, XIV will cast one of the 3 empowered elemental abilities. It can be Thunder tree, Fire tree or Blizzard tree, and they work as the same way as the normal mode here as well. If Thunder tree, move away from the boss. If Blizzard tree, make sure you are moving or you will be frozen. And finally, if Fire tree, make sure you don't move before the pyretic status disappear. Right after it, XIV gonna use Vacuum Wave. This is the reason why you must make he appear on the edge of the arena, otherwise players will be pushed back and fall from it. Right after Vacuum Wave, XIV gonna use White Hole again. All players must be full HP or they will be petrified for 10 seconds. This is another healing check. Now, XIV will cast Black Hole. It will cause raid-wide damage and summon 8 black holes on the ground. 4 black holes will be attached to 2 tanks and 2 healers, while the other 4 black holes will stay still. The 2 tanks and 2 healers must keep moving so that they are not hit by their black holes. During the time that the tanks and healer are moving, XIV will cast another normal Fire tree. It will be the same as the first phase. It will hit 4 DPS players first, and a few seconds later it will hit both tanks and healers. Also, during the time that you are dealing with the black holes and Fire tree, XIV will mark one healer for share damage. Let me show you guys how we deal with this. We assign positions for both tanks and healers. They will need to carry their black holes in their own positions until the time to go to the middle comes. In my case, I was between C and D, so I must deal with my black hole in my own piece of land. The same applies for the other 3 players with black holes. After the GPS players get hit by their own fire tree, they will gather in the middle while the tanks and healers will wait until they get hit by their fire tree too. Right after they are hit by that, they must run straight away to the middle before the share damage comes out. Don't forget to keep healing's cooldown so that you can heal everyone before the share damage. Now, XIV will cast another white hole. Same thing as before. Everyone must be full HP before the cast finishes, or they will be petrified for 10 seconds. Right after, another blow cast followed by Thunder Tree will come. This is the reason why we shared the first phase Thunder Tree, so that we can use Hallowed Ground or Living Dead. The next attack is Meteor. It's a very high raid-wide damage. You will need to put on shields and pop up defense cooldowns here. Now XIV will cast another decisive battle and the same mechanic happens again. 8 tentacles will appear. Wait for the pushback, move to the right position, place the flares far away from each other and make sure the players of the group are on the edge of the arena so that XIV will spawn next to one of them. Another thunder or fire or blizzard tree will come followed by vacuum wave and white hole right after. The tank will bring the boss to the center of the arena one more time and XIV will cast another black hole again. The black holes work as the same way as before, but this time XIV gonna use Blizzard Tree instead of Fire Tree. During the time you are dealing with Blizzard Tree, XIV will cast Flare 2. Place the flares far away from each other while you move the black holes around, and go to the middle after the explosions. There will be no player marked for share damage this time. Another white hole will come, top up everyone's HP before the cast finishes. XIV will again use another dual cast Thunder Tree and one more Meteor. A few seconds after this Meteor, XIV will reach his enrage time. By this time, if you have not reached 59% of his HP, it will be a wipe. If you have, then congratulations, you can finally start the real battle. Alright, the easy part is over. Let's start the funny part. The first skill Neo XIV uses is Almagest. It will do high raid-wide damage and put dots on all players. It's a good idea to pop up group defense cooldowns here, so that the dots will not do too much damage. The next attack is Arrow Tree. It will cause high damage to the tank, so be ready for that. After it, Neo XIV will cast Delta Attack. It's a combination of a Fire Tree, Thunder Tree and Blizzard Tree all together. First, assign position for the members of your group to move after a Blizzard Tree comes out. After the first Blizzard Tree, Fire Tree will hit all the DPS players, while the Thunder Tree will hit the main tank. Have the main tank pop up skills like Living Dead and Hallowed Ground here. You can also make the off tank provoke the boss during the cast of Delta Attack, so that both tanks take one hit each other. But it is easier to have one tank take all the damage. Don't worry about the cooldowns, they will be up to the next time you need it. After the second Blizzard Tree, Fire Tree will hit both tanks and healers. So make sure that the players that will be hit by Fire Tree are not close to each other. The next attack is Grand Cross Alpha. This is a little complicated, so I will try to make it simple. Go to the middle of the arena before the cast finishes. After that, the players of the group must position themselves in a line to deal with the next mechanic. Pay attention to the debuffs. One tank, one healer and one DPS will have Allagan Field, while all the other players will have a knockback debuff. The way to deal with it is to have the tank without Allagan Field be the first in the line. The tank with Allagan Field will be the second, all the players with knockback will be in the third position, while the healer and DPS with Allagan Field stay behind everyone else. Now that everyone knows their own positions, now XDeath will cast Flood of Naught. This attack will do high damage to the first and second player in the line. That's why we have the tanks take the front. Every player with knockback will of course be knocked back, and the players with Allagan Field who are behind will receive almost no damage. Now we must talk about Flood of Naught. Although the name is the same, there is 4 variations of this attack. The first variation is the one you are seeing at the moment. After every Grand Cross Alpha, it will be the Knockback Flood, followed by the Colors Flood. I have just explained how the players must position themselves for the Knockback Flood. Right after it, now XDeath will use Colors Flood. The Colors Flood is the second variation. Pay attention to your debuffs again. If you have the purple status, you must go to the blue side of the arena. If you have the blue status, then you go to the purple side of the arena. The third variation is the Sides Flood. You just need to go to the middle to avoid it. And finally, the fourth variation is the Center Flood. This time, just move to the sides of the arena. Alright, now let's go back. Now XDeath gonna use Double Attack. It is a double tank buster. It does high damage and must be shared between both tanks. It will also knock back the tanks after it. No players can stay close to the tank or they might be hit by the double attack. Send the tanks to the middle of the arena and you should be fine. Now XDeath will use Emptiness. 3 arrows will appear on the arena. After that, dark circles will appear one after another following the directions of the arrows. Try to avoid it as much as possible. Right after Emptiness, now XDeath gonna use Flood again. You must deal with Emptiness and Flood at the same time, so pay attention to the arrow's direction before Flood. Another Aero tree will come and right after, the boss will cast Grand Cross Delta. One healer will be marked with a drop of water called Compressed Water. This mark is a shared damage mechanic. The same healer and one tank will also be marked with Cursed Shriek. It will petrify any player who is looking to this healer and tank when the Shriek countdown is over. The tank with Shriek and the healer without watermark will receive Forked Lightning. It will hit everyone close to them, leaving with paralyzed status when its countdown is over. Also, 5 players will be marked with knockback status again. It will be one tank and the other 4 DPS players. There is also 2 DPS players that will be marked with Acceleration Bomb. It works the same way as the Grand Cross Alpha. Do not move or make any action before the countdown on your head is over. And finally, 4 players will be marked with Beyond Death. The players with this status must try to kill themselves to get rid of it. If they fail, they will die. Let's try to break it down. The healer with Compressed Water will go south. The healer with Forked Lightning will go southeast. The tank with Forked Lightning will go southwest. The 2 DPS players and the tank with Beyond Death and Knockback status will go south as well and position themselves so that after the sheer damage caused by the Compressed Water, they will be knocked back right in front of the boss. And finally, the 2 players with Knockback and Acceleration Bomb will stay close to the boss. Do not look in the direction of the Shrieks. Wait for the Forked Lightnings and Compressed Water goes off and move accordingly with your debuffs. If you have Beyond Death status, you must try to kill yourself with a Flood of Naught. If not, you must avoid it. The Flood of Naught casted here can be the Colors Flood, the Sides Flood or the Center Flood. In the video, the boss used the Center Flood. After all of this, make sure to come back from the knockback as fast as possible and stack for another Almagest. And then you will have another Aero tree as well. After the Aero tree, the boss will mark the 2 players with the highest aggro for Earthshakers. Make sure to control your hate here. If everything goes okay, both tanks will get the hit. Have the tanks go to the sides and you should be fine. After that, the boss will cast Vacuum Wave. Just leave the range of the attack. Now XDeath will now cast Emptiness followed by Light and Darkness. It will mark one healer with share damage, and one healer, one tank, and one DPS with flare. Choose one position for share damage and the other 3 positions for flares. In our case, D was for share damage, C was for healer flare, B was for DPS flare, and A was for tank flare. The boss will now cast another flood, and after that it will cast Meteor. The players must destroy the Arcane Spheres before the meteors hit the ground, or it will be a wipe. During the time your group is destroying the meteors, Neo XIV will cast Color Flood again, so make sure to move to the right color side. After finishing the meteors, the boss will cast Charybdis. It will lower the HP of everyone to almost 0, and right after, the boss will cast double attack again. Make sure to focus the tank's HP before healing the whole group. And now, another Almagest will come. This time it will be Almagest, Vacuum Wave, and finish with Aero Tree. Another Emptiness will come, followed by Grand Cross Alpha. Same thing as before, position the tanks in front and Allagan Fields behind. And be careful to don't be knocked back out of the arena. Wait for the acceleration bomb to disappear and move to your color. Now the boss will cast Delta Attack again, same thing as before. Avoid the Blizzard Tree, DPS players wait for the fire goes off, tanks use Living Dead, Home Gang or Hallowed Ground to deal with Thunder Tree, and finally, wait for both tanks and healers be hit by Fire Tree. Right after, the boss will cast another flood, so be ready for it. Now, Neo XIV will cast Grand Cross Omega. This is so far the hardest mechanic in the fight. It will put all negative status from Grand Cross Delta and Alpha together. Since you already know what each debuff does, let's go straight to the point of positioning. First, the boss will disappear and appear 3 times. All the 3 times it will cast Flood. The type of flood that the boss will cast is random, but it will never repeat the same flood again during those 3 times. For example, if the first time it appears it casts Colors Flood, the next 2 times it will definitely be Sides Flood and Centers Flood. Alright, let's go. The players with Beyond Death status must not die before the 3rd time the boss appears. Have the healers with Compressed Water goes where the boss casts the final battle. Then have the 3 DPS players and the tank with Knockback status stay behind him. The boss will spawn behind the position where it had casted the final battle. The tank and DPS with knockback status must be sure to be knocked back to the right position or color depending on which kind of flood the boss is using behind them. Also, don't forget to place the players with Forked Lightning on the right and left side of the player with Compressed Water, or at least in a place where they will not hit the other players of the group. There is no secret the 2nd time the boss appears. Just do the mechanics normally. Choose the opposite color or avoid the center or sides flood. And finally, the 3rd time that the boss appears is the most tricky of all. That's because the 2 players with Cursor Streak also have knockback status. The way to deal with this is to have all the players in the group keep looking where the 3rd boss had disappeared and don't look behind. And don't forget that the players with Beyond Death status must try to kill themselves here. Make them choose the same color or be hit by the center or sides flood. Wait for the Cursor Streak and the acceleration bomb goes out, and finally start healing everyone. Right after the Shriek and acceleration bomb disappear, the boss will reappear and start casting Flood again. This time you must position the players like the same way as the Grand Cross Alpha. Just remember the start of the battle, but there will be no Colors Flood right after it this time. Now, be ready to pop up group defense cooldowns because an Almagest is coming right after all this craziness. Alright guys, from now on the mechanics will start to repeat themselves until enrage. So I'm going to skip everything else because they really follow the same sequence until the last Delta attack and float. If you want to see it, just go back to the minute 12 and see everything again. There will be no difference, except for the float's random pattern. Alright, now Neo XIV gonna use Neverwhere. It is the start of the last part. He gonna cast one more Charybdis and start punching the ground with Frenzied Fist. After 9 punches, he gonna finish it with one Frenzied Sphere. He will do the same sequence 8 times. Every time he finishes one set of punches and spheres, he gets 1 damage increase status. After he finishes the 8 sets of punches and spheres, he will start casting Almagest one last time, and when it finishes casting, the group will be wiped. Alright guys, that's the finish of the guide. I hope you liked it, and nice clears and drops coming for your group. If you have anything to add, just leave in the comments, I put in the description later. See you next time!